All right, welcome everybody. Welcome. This is Zarina Elamine with our Legacy Storykeepers Writer Wednesdays. This is our Wednesday conversation. I am so excited because we're in a movement right now where we're understanding the importance of capturing our stories. We're understanding the importance of doing the introspective work that is necessary in order to deep dive into the lives that we have led, how we came to be who we are, how we came to be, the ways that we show up in the world. And so today is about honoring that work and also honoring the people who are doing that work on a day to day basis. So I am super excited to be kicking this off with one of my aunties, right? Someone that I love prior to even doing this work, and someone who has inspired me, inspired many people across the United States in many ways. And we're going to get into what those are today. So before we get started, I want you all who are here, share this out with a friend, share this out with a loved one. Allow us to be able to spread the word, right? Spread the joy, spread the good news to those who may not have the opportunity to connect with us just on their own such. And for you as well, we're going to be opening up for Q&A throughout this. So utilize the chat, comment, leave your thoughts, leave your reflections as well, because this is going to be a fireside conversation, if you will. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up Dr. Aneesah Nadir. Dr. Aneesah Nadir is a social worker. She is a mother. She is all of the things that we desire. And I'm not going to read her formal bio because I want to come at it from a place of regular humanity. And that's what we're going to get into. So, Dr. Aneesah Nadir, welcome to the Legacy Story Keepers Wednesday conversations.
Thank you. Alhamdulillah. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
So, you're down there in sunny Arizona. How's the weather down there today?
Actually, we've got a little rain this morning. We don't get a
Ah,
lot, but we got some today. So yeah, and I think it's supposed to be just a little bit cooler. March was really warm. It was our warmest March I think ever on history. So it,
wow.
it got warm a little too early for us, but today is very nice.
Well, I'm exploring different places to move to, so I may be coming down there just to check it out.
Hey, you know you're always welcome, and I'm looking forward to your tour being here too.
Yes, yes. We're definitely looking for that. So, of course, Dr. Aneesah, you were a member of our Power Author Academy, but then came into the Legacy Storykeepers, our life story writing and coaching program. So, I've had the opportunity to hear a lot of your story because we watched you write it, right? Little by little by little. I watched you throughout the weeks go into your childhood, your schooling, matriculating through your educational process, all of the things that you had to go through in order to be able to write this book here, your last book, your latest book, Two Callings. I've had the privilege of watching you sort of excavate your life, if you will, to pull this out for us. So, we're going to talk about this book today. We're also going to talk a little bit about your first book, Before the Nikah, right? We'll get into that as well. But I want to start here because this book you titled Two Callings, right? You titled it Two Callings. What are the two callings? What exactly does that mean?
So the two callings refer to how my uh, conversion to Islam and my choice, and I'm going to say choice, it was really a calling, it wasn't a choice, converged almost at the same time. I was just 18 years old
Mm,
and I was introduced to Islam by someone who has now been over 50 years, a dear friend, Sister Taryn Sadiq. But it was the same time I was making a choice. I was undergrad, I was in my sophomore year, and that was a year we had to make a decision or declare, I guess, our major. I came in as a pre-law. I was thinking pre-law. I was going to go to law school, and somehow or another, I learned about, I was introduced. I don't even know how it happened, but I heard about social work as a possible career option. And then I could still go to law school later if I wanted to. I didn't go to law school, but but my daughter did.
You did. Look at
So those are my two callings. And for me, I feel like Allah, God called me to Islam and to social work. And at the same time, and over the years, that has made all the difference for me.
wow, at the same time. So Islam and social work. But I'm thinking about an 18-year-old. You said you were 18, you were a sophomore in college. And I'm putting myself back into my 18-year-old shoes and just trying to feel what I felt during that time. So were you searching for a spiritual path? Were
Mhm.
you finding yourself like floating? Can you take us back to how you felt at
Mhm.
18 for the spiritual side of the first
Yeah.
calling?
Yeah. So actually, I was not searching. I I was attending when I would go home. So we lived in Queens in Jamaica, New York, which wasn't far from school. School was in Long Island, wasn't that far apart. So when I did go home, I'd go back to the Congregationalist church that I was going to. My family's Christian, but lots of different denominations in there. So this was my auntie's church. Um, and I'd go to church regularly. And I didn't realize I had a lot of questions, honestly. I didn't feel that. I felt growing up that I'd learned some of the different Bible stories. I felt a connection to God. I didn't know a lot. I wouldn't say I was a student of the Bible or scripture. I wouldn't say that. But I felt a connection. I had a family that they believed, different traditions, Baptists, Congregationalists, Brethren, different denominations of Christianity. And I felt that connection, but I didn't know a lot, honestly. But I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't looking. So that's why I feel I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that Sister Taryn and the sister that she was with and the brother she was with stopped by me. We were out in I'll call it like the quad in the grassy area on campus. I was a kid. I mean,
Yeah,
and I was away
educated.
from home. I didn't know that many people, and it was a very different environment. See, I grew up in a predominantly African American, Hispanic kind of community in high school and so forth. And Adelphi University was predominantly white. It was a different environment, but it was also familiar because it was more kind of suburban, if you will, which is what I grew up with in Queens in Jamaica. Anyway, we were sitting out there, and they came by, and Sister Taryn invited me to go to the temple. You know, it was the temple of the Nation of Islam. I didn't know anything about it, but I wasn't afraid to learn. And I am so glad that she did not walk past me
Wow.
because I'm a nervous kid. Should I ask her? Should I ask her? No, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I shouldn't bother her. People do all of that kind of thing. She
Yeah.
did not. She came by, and that's why I feel like it was such a blessing. And in the process of that, and over the time, I felt like I was being
Mm,
pulled, pulled in. And the same for social work. I felt like I was being pulled and called to that, pulled towards social work and what that meant in terms of addressing social issues that
mm-hmm.
my own family had been experiencing and that I could see all around me in society, as well as getting answers to questions I didn't even know I had.
Mm, mm. I want to come back to the social work side, but I want to stay on the spiritual side for a moment because I think a lot of times people have questions around people who decide they're going to go on a different spiritual path, especially one that is unique, meaning that no one else in their family is really doing it at that time. And
Mhm.
so I can assume or imagine how it may have been for you as a young person making such a big decision that changes how you live your everyday life. So,
Yeah.
what was it like when you started down this new spiritual
Oh,
path? What
yeah.
was it like?
It was once I started coming to the thought that I might like to be a Muslim. You know, I I started questioning. I was like, oh my gosh, what is this going to mean for the family? What is mom and dad going to think? How am I going to be able to relate to my brothers and my sister and such? And I have a large extended family on my mother's side, and they're all Baptists. What is it going to mean? What about my friends?
Mm-hmm.
My friends from high school and stuff. How would they? But my dad was the one who said that he would disown me. And that did
Did
not
he?
mean monetary, but we ain't had no money. So, um, and and I think it was because he was afraid for me. I think
Mm,
he was afraid for me. He was afraid because that was 1975, and it
okay.
hadn't been that long that Malcolm had been killed, and I think he was afraid, and he didn't know what that would mean, you know. But
You
my
remember
aunt,
telling them? Do you remember telling your father? Like, did you come in and have a family
I didn't
meeting, or did they just
No,
watch
I didn't
you?
have a family meeting. I don't know how it exactly happened, but I think what happened was the winter. So I met Sister Taryn. It was the fall of '74. So when winter break happened, then I went home and I was back at my dad and my grandma's house, and I
Mm-hmm.
was doing a lot of pondering, and I all I can imagine is having conversation with them, but I don't remember it was like call all the family together, come,
Yeah,
oh, I have something to tell you.
right.
I'm thinking about this, and there were questions like what would it mean. But my dad's sister, Aunt Mildred, I could talk to her a lot. And she asked me for a Quran. And of course, I didn't know much about it either. But
Mm-hmm.
somehow or another, she came to the conclusion that make this would not change me in a bad way. It would
Okay.
only be a good thing. And she was able to convince my father of that, you know.
Were
And
you a bad kid? Because I know some
I
people, when they
was,
came into Islam, they were out there like they were roughing it. So some of their family members were happy that this thing was kind of cleaning them up, you know?
yeah, no, I
Were
was a
you
good
like that?
kid. I was a goody two shoes, actually. I was a good kid. So that was, I think they were afraid that maybe it would um, interfere with our relationship. And I was even afraid, like my brothers, and even today, recently, my younger brother, we had a kind of a conversation about this because I was afraid of what that would mean for our relationship, the things that we could do together,
Mm-hmm.
if we start having okay, so in terms of the religious part, I felt like Islam was the rest of the story. It was the stories my grandmother had been telling me about the different prophets. So I felt like I knew like about Prophet Joseph and Moses and different ones. So I was like, oh, this sounds familiar to me. It wasn't unfamiliar,
Okay.
but the relationships in terms of what we could do, like my brothers, for instance, my brothers were growing up, teenagers, young men. If I convert to Islam, I'm not going to be drinking. I'm going to be hanging out in bars or any of those things. Not that they all did that, and I
Mhm.
never did it before. But there were certain
You were
places.
young. You weren't even drinking age. You were like
No,
18, 19.
yeah, yeah,
Technically, you ain't drinking
yeah,
age.
yeah. So I was worried about what that would mean for relationship,
Mm,
and also how there are a lot of families that convert, a lot of people who convert, and the family members are ostracized. My
yes.
family, thank God, did not ostracize me. My mother was very supportive, but and the biggest thing was, of course, the dress. My grandmother she was elegant. She was a very stylish woman. She was a seamstress, and and she once said, how come you're kind of wearing that kind of homely kind of looking clothes, and the men don't have to do that. The men are sharp and so, but as time went on, I found my groove and my style, and and so forth. But that part was kind of interesting, but
Yeah.
also the
That dress and
relationship.
not eating the ham hocks and the pork chops and everything.
See, yeah, that was something. And my mom, when I would come home, and thank God for this, we were the nation at the time. I was in the transition. So
Okay.
Elijah Muhammad passed away. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad had passed away. Imam Muhammad had started to take, when it was May 75 when I actually declared. So they were already in transition. But the habits of, one meal a day and, how to eat to live and stuff, that was still part of it. And so, but my mom, she was okay. She started fixing fish, and I remember her. One of my favorite meals that she would make was some fish, and some corn, and no pork. And she grew up with pork. She grew up in the South. She grew up with pork, but she was able to help me make that transition in terms of meals and still have tasty food. And the rest of them kind of got the groove.
So your
um,
dad did not disown you. He didn't end up
no,
disowning you.
no, he
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
So what was your life like growing up? You talked about the spiritual side, going to your auntie's
um,
house. You talked about your brothers, you kind of worrying about how your relationship was going to be with them when you made this big change. You talked about your
mhm.
mom supporting you with the meals and such. How was your family life growing up?
So I was close to my brothers. I'm the oldest. I'm the big sister. So very
That makes a
close.
lot of sense. Always taking
So
care of everybody.
yeah, yeah. Um, so I was the one who, you know, tried to be there and be supportive and all of that. Um, but life was tough, to be quite honest. Growing up was challenging as a youngster. My mom and dad had lots of different problems in terms of their marriage, so their marriage life was not good. In fact, I really wondered, what would happen to us, because they had such difficulty. And that is actually one of the things that has inspired me in the work that I do, because I don't want other kids to go through what we went through. So
Mm.
so domestic violence was part of my life. My parents had, had those challenges, alcoholism, and mental health, mental illness. My mom experienced mental illness, and it was difficult. And so because of that, I had to even be kind of like a second mom in some ways. Had to
Mhm.
be. I was, you know.
But
And
did you realize your mom had a mental illness when you were young, or did you just think like this was just her personality?
well, I did not realize. When I was young, I thought I thought my mom was being mean, but
Hmm.
my mom was hurting. You know, in hindsight and all those things, my mom was hurting. Her marriage did not turn out the way she had hoped it would, and she grew up in she was the oldest sister. She was the oldest sister. She had one older brother. There were 13 of them. And she actually, her youngest sister was born 2 weeks before me, you know.
Oh
So,
wow! So your
yeah,
auntie and you
yeah,
were like twins.
yes.
Yeah.
And
Is that the
so,
one you said that's not your dad's
no,
sister?
sister.
Okay.
No,
Hmm.
that's my mother's sister. My mother's youngest sister is 2 years older than me.
Okay.
Um, and so, growing up, but they grew up in the South, my aunt and most of them grew up in the South, but we grew up in New York. My mom was part of that migration to the North and to get a job and all of those kinds of things. And in the process, she met my dad. And my dad was handsome. Oh, yes, he was so
Yeah,
handsome.
damn.
Yeah, he was smooth. He was so handsome. And my mom she was beautiful, actually. But, like many folks, they didn't really know each other. And they came, my dad grew up in Harlem. His dad had passed away, so he didn't really have, from what I can tell, best role models of what a husband should be.
Mm-hmm.
My mom's grew up with her dad and a lot of her uncles around, so she had good models. So I don't really know for sure because we never really got to talk about it, but I
Yeah.
think she had images of what her marriage would be like, and it would be maybe more like her parents, not
Mm-hmm.
like what she experienced. And so, dad he loved us, but he was not a very good husband. And so, much as we love him, we loved him. He's passed away, but
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, he was not a good husband. But they didn't know what it meant to how to pull a marriage together, what tools they needed, and they were in. This was 19. I was born in 56, so they
Mm-hmm.
got married. I'd say about 54, and there was a lot of stuff. There was Jim Crow. There was a lot of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't. 1965 Voting Rights Act had not even passed. It was a year after Brown, or the year of Brown versus the Board of Education. I mean, that's the life they grew up in and
Mm-hmm.
came to. And he was raised in Harlem, and and without his father, and his mother was a single parent. His parents actually had immigrated from Barbados in the West Indies, you
Okay.
know, and so it was very interesting. uh, I only regret, and so I'm so glad you're doing this. I want to encourage younger people to really sit down with their elders and get an understanding of what their life was like, and that's part of why I wanted to write this. Yeah, it was a difficult. There were always good times and bad times, but the in my mom and my dad's case, they were not a, I don't they were not a good fit. They
Mm-hmm.
were not compatible, in
Mm-hmm.
all honesty, and they
Mm-hmm.
didn't have the tools even. So they weren't compatible, didn't have the best tools, and they were. Mom didn't have a lot of support. She had cousin Mabel, who became my godmother, but and she was quiet, and things just did not turn out well. So she didn't feel good, and
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't realize that as a kid, but later on I realized it. And that's her mental health challenges were a result of her discontent and her
Mm-hmm.
hurt and her sadness and her
Mm-hmm.
disappointment. Yeah. Yeah.
So, listening to you speak, you're speaking with a lot of empathy, right? That I can imagine comes from reflection and comes from time, but also probably your social work training and maybe looking at your own family from that social work training lens. But to you, where are you getting this level of empathy from? Like, did it come from
Mhm.
your training? Did it come, like, how are you speaking like this about this? And the reason I say this is because a lot of us have had some type of difficult childhoods and such, but they don't always
Mhm.
come out on the other side speaking about the
Mhm.
situations that they saw, like
Mhm.
you're speaking about it right now. Like, looking
Mhm.
back, where do you think this level of understanding and empathy comes from?
So I want to give credit both to my social work education and training and my faith. I think, that spiritual connection helped me to be more understanding and more forgiving, and knowing that, God is all forgiving. And there's so many, he says, I've learned as a Muslim that he says that, do you think you will not be tested? All of us are going to go through tests and trials and difficulties, and I just continue to pray for the hope. But I do carry a strong. I tend to be a more empathetic person. That is part of me. That is, I feel blessed to have that sense of empathy, empath, I guess, in those regards. But also, it comes with some knowledge, having come to learn. Because as I remember, the 8-year-old sitting on the step crying because my parents had just had a fight, and I'm like, why us? nobody else is going through this. I didn't know other people were going through this, you
Mm-hmm.
know, family problems and things like that. And I learned that other people, as I grew up and I learned about, social issues and the rate of domestic violence and alcoholism and mental health issues in society, I learned that a lot of people have gone through this, and
Yes.
there's a context, and when you're poor and you're low income, and racism is abound, and you feel like your sense of identity and your sense of self and your sense of purpose, and you can't, and all of these things just, you
Uh,
have this sense of,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
disappointment. And so, yeah. So
Well, you took
I
all of
learned to
that.
forgive, because I was mad at my mom when I was a kid. I was
I can
really,
imagine. I can
I was,
imagine.
I
You know,
blamed her. I
yeah.
thought it was her fault. It was not her fault. That was, God forgive me. That was not her fault. It was,
How
they
old was
they
your
had challenges together. They had problems, and they did not know how, and they didn't have the guidance and the support to know what to do and how to deal. Yeah.
How old were you when you came to that realization that
Mm.
it's not all her fault?
Mm. I don't know the exact age. I'm thinking that probably in high school and in my first couple of years of
Hmm.
undergrad school,
So pretty
or
early.
years.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I started to get that recognition that this isn't her fault, and it's not his fault.
Mm-hmm.
They had troubles, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think I really got it. I think I really got it as I started to grow spiritually in Islam, and started to do more study, and started to develop my relationship with Allah and with God closer, and started to see the challenges that, you know, all of the prophets' families went through,
Mm-hmm.
all of the prophets. Yeah. So I think I was older and more mature. So I think my understanding and forgiveness has grown over
Mm-hmm.
time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, now you're known as someone that people come to help them prepare for their marriages. You know, you've trained hundreds of people, if not thousands of people, around how to build healthy marriages. So I can see where the passion sort of comes from now, from having watched some of the things and then coming over. But not everyone has has seen things and then decides that they're going to make that a part of their life mission or such, right? um so for you, what continued to drive you
Mhm.
to really focus in on this healthy marriage part of people's lives?
So I think what continued to drive me, and truth be told, it is a soul deep passion for me. I think not only did I experience it, sadly, I didn't have the skills either. My husband and I, when we first got married in our first marriage, we didn't have the skills either. I'm like, okay, wait a minute, we got to work on this. Something's got to be done about this. We can't keep repeating this kind of cycle. Mhm.
Thank you.
Um, we can't keep repeating this. Something's got to be done. We got to do something better. We got to do something different. So in my husband, current husband, we were our first marriage. We got married. It was our meeting was good. Everything we thought. But we
I said
realized.
at school, where'd you meet?
So okay, Brother Kareem and I, we met in the mosque community. So we went to a there was a committee meeting, and I was a social work student, so I'm going to this committee meeting to find out how I could get involved and maybe volunteer and something related to social work. Now, I don't even remember what the call was for the meeting, but he also went, and he had been part of the fruit of Islam, and so he was coming to participate, see what he could do. and we met there. And we both lined up on the same committee.
Mm.
And, and I asked him, and at the end of the meeting, because we were going to be in the same committee, I said, "You won't need my phone number, will you?" And he, and so he said, "Yeah, maybe I will. Maybe I will." so, 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 got my phone
You
number.
always been bold with it. You're gonna go after what you want.
I did, I have not. I am such a wimp, but there are aspects, I guess, that are bold and brave, and that was one
Yeah.
courageous day.
That's
So,
definitely bold. I think a lot of women, talking about healthy marriage and getting married and finding a spouse and all of those things, a lot of women would have maybe waited to see if he da, 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 da.
yeah,
But in this particular case, you were like, you're gonna go after it.
yeah, yeah. Well, again, I'm, I'm, I am such a believer in calling and guidance from Allah, and Allah opening the doors that you didn't even realize.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even realize. So anyway, so we met. He started coming to visit.
Uh-huh.
Family liked him, and then we got married. And the first few years were good. We moved to Arizona,
Okay.
which was a blessing. I still consider it a blessing, but it was also a challenge, and actually one I don't recommend for most young people.
Mm-hmm.
We moved to Arizona without family support. There was one or two families that we had met. We didn't know them that well. All of our family was 2,500 miles away, so the
Yeah.
stress of that. He didn't have a job when he got here. He found a job very quickly. He's very resourceful. Found a job very quickly. I didn't have really friends. I had two babies. I mean, there was a lot of stress on us.
So why Arizona? Why come all the way down there?
So we wanted New York City at the time. We the urban center in art for us was not the place we wanted to raise our kids.
Mm.
And we two of our friends from the mosque in Brooklyn were also coming, and we kind of hopped on this caravan.
Got it.
And we are glad that it's here. We just wish more of our family also could have been here. And later, my mom and one of my younger brothers came, so that was good. We found that we had an uncle here, and we made family. We made family. But
Mm-hmm.
to tell you this, the challenge. So that was a challenge. So we wind up divorcing.
How many years into the marriage?
I would say it was about 10 years, 8 to 10 years in.
Okay.
But it was a stressful period, uh, and um, and then we wind up marrying someone else, and thank goodness because we had sons from those people, but realizing we weren't a good fit with them either, you know. But we didn't have good skills. We didn't know communication, relationship build, and we weren't a good fit for them either. We were
Okay.
really more of a good fit for each other, but we didn't know it, and we didn't have the skills to build the relationship with all the stressors that we had.
Mm-hmm.
So, but eventually, and not too long into the marriages with the other folks, as I said, we had sons. We had wonderful sons, Omar and Dahir, and we're grateful for that. And our two older children, Zarina and Yaradine.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're grateful for
A
that.
daughter named Zarina. Let me just clear that up. They're like, what? Dr. Aneesah has a daughter named Zarina. But yes, all right. So y'all had
That's
two
right.
kids together. And then you each had one child with your second spouses, right?
Yes,
And then okay, so it's 4 kids total. Got it.
yes, yes. And they're all amazing. So we're really grateful for that. And God, we plan a plan, and God plans a plan. We weren't good fits for the people that we married, and they weren't good fits for us, but we were supposed to have those young people in our lives. And so we did get back together. It took a lot. It was not an
Yeah, how
easy
did this
getting back.
happen? That's what I want to know. How this
Yeah,
happened? I
it
can see
was.
a lot of people like, listen, I ain't never going back. So how did y'all
Yeah,
find your way back to each other?
yeah. I would say, well, first of all, there was an elder in our community, an elder friend, who knew my second husband and my current, and he was first husband then, Kareem,
Mm-hmm.
Dahir's father and brother Kareem. And he knew them both. And he suggested, God have mercy on him, he said, this second thing's not working. Y'all aren't compatible, but you have kids with your older children, and you both are really, why don't we look at trying that again?
Mm-hmm.
And I was angry, I was hurt, I was mad at him, all the things. But we talked it through, and we talked it some more, and we grew up, and we realized that we had to grow up, and we realized that we had to rely on Allah, which we needed to grow in our faith, because this marriage, any marriage, no marriage works without strong foundation of taqwa, of a belief in Allah, and reliance on the law. It doesn't work. I'm just convinced of that. In all my years, going on 70 years old now, soon, I realize it just doesn't work. You can't do this by yourself. You need a lot of support. You need good skills, and you need a strong relationship with God. You know, and we needed to strengthen all of that, and we committed to do that. And Brother Kareem is a good person. He loves Allah, and he is an easygoing person. You know, he's really, and I'm like this, as you said, go out and got to get through. And he's very easygoing, and it turns out that we were a better fit than we realized.
Mm-hmm.
But we had stressors in the first marriage that we didn't realize, and we didn't have skills, and we needed to strengthen our faith.
Mm.
I believe, in retrospect, I think that these were some of the things that were important, and that and growing up and maturing through helped us to realize that.
Well, so a couple of things to unpack here. One is that you all were a part of a community, right? Like your
Mhm,
family wasn't there with you in that space in Arizona, but you were a part of a community. You made your new family, and
mhm,
those people in that new family knew you all well enough to say, "Hey, you might want to
mhm,
reassess, right?" I mean, well, look
mhm,
at that. Look at the beauty of that, though. That's the
mhm.
power of community, and that's the
Yes.
power of the elders, the space of the elders,
Mhm,
and the respect
mhm,
that we have for elders to look
mhm,
at you all and say, "Hey, y'all might want to,
mhm,
reassess this." So you lead workshops now around
mhm,
um, premarital planning and training, and you talked
mhm,
about you and your husband like working to develop the skills. He didn't have the
mhm,
skills. You said that a lot of times, right? They didn't have
mhm.
the skills. We didn't have the skills. Now you help others develop the skills. Can you tell us a little bit about what that looks like, and what are some of the skills? Shoot, what are some of the but first, okay, let's tell us a little bit about how these workshops and such work.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, and before that, I'm going to tell you how that came about. So, even not only was it my personal experience, but it was also my professional experience. So, I was providing individual and family and couples counseling, okay, in my private practice while I was teaching at the university and such. And in that, I people came to me with different problems, and I would constantly say, did y'all talk about that beforehand? Like, or did you have any guidance or preparation? What before? And consistently, there was a no, 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 no. And I'm like, okay, we got to do something about this. I didn't have it. They don't have it. So I'm realizing we need preparation. We just like we have preparation for becoming a doctor, a lawyer, a social worker, years of study. We wouldn't become a doctor without it, right? But we go into marriage, one of the most important things that we do in life, any lifelong relationship, and we don't have any skills, and we don't have any guidance on how to do this. We take it like it's like OJT and oh yeah, just because we get together, it's going to work. Mm-mm. So I realized that. So
Mhm.
I started having putting together these workshops, and
On your
my
own,
first,
like not any organization, just you looking at the need and you
yeah,
deciding we're going to do this. Okay.
yes,
Uh,
yes. So and it was, some of the young women in my community, my daughter, her friends, so we started doing that. And that was now, it was about 25 years ago.
wow.
Um, yeah. And from that has developed the Before the NICAT Institute. The
Mm-hmm.
Before the NICAT Institute now provides a 13-week course, 2 hours a week of premarital education
Wow.
that includes um, getting to know oneself, getting to know what you're looking for, what are some of the qualities you like in a future, you would want in a future spouse, what are some of the skills, like communication skills, like um, choosing financial management,
Mm-hmm.
sex and intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, these are all, how do we talk to one another? How do we relate to one another? How do we care for one another?
Yeah.
What is the role? What does Allah tell us in Quran about what makes a healthy marriage?
Mm,
The compassion, the rahmah, the love, the muwada, and the sakina, the lack of drama. Like we what happens often, I found, is that we make drama because
mm,
we don't know how to talk to one another, we don't know how to care for one another, we don't. And so
it's
that's
heavy, huh?
these are the things that we include, and also things like it happened from the outside too, like in-law issues and cross-cultural things. So all of these things are included in the course. um, but I also provide premarital coaching. Oh, and our course is geared towards single people
Mm-hmm.
before they choose. Okay, that's the other thing.
That's the
People are
key
making
point.
choices. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things I found out in my development of the course, is that most of any premarital programs that did exist, which were very few and far between, they're always for couples. They were
Yes.
always for people who were already getting together. They already had somehow decided, but they didn't have that um, preparation as a single person to
Yes.
know even what to look for and what would be good for them, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so the course is geared towards single people even before they have decided they want to get married. You don't even come to us before you even decide that you want to get married. You don't
I
even
love
have
it.
to, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one thing. And then we also offer premarital coaching
Mm-hmm.
for individuals and couples. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So, what have you, the people that come into the program, because this could be a sensitive topic, and marriage and singlehood, all of the things come with so much like stigma from the community kind of placed on you and such.
mm,
Like, what have you found from the students in the program that are signing up? Because they're paying their own money, to come
yeah.
into this program. So they're saying, "Hey, I want to come in." Like, what are some of the things that they're walking away with? What are they saying after the complete this 13
Mm,
week, 26 hours they've invested into just becoming the best spouse that they can be? You
yeah.
know, what do you find that they
So
are
they're
walking?
first of all, they're realizing that there's so much that they didn't know. They
Mm,
come away. One of the things they come away with are proprietary vetting process. So they're like, oh, so there's a way to actually find out if this person is going to be a good fit and also is a good person.
yeah.
Before I don't just have to just jump into it and then see. You
Mhm.
know, and they learn about the importance of the marriage support team. That it does take a village. It does take a village even to make a good selection and to determine that that person and you are a good fit.
Mhm.
They come away with communication skills. They come away with legal matters. We have a whole legally savvy conversations in marriage. Attorney Zarina does that. And we have discussions about domestic abuse and what are some
Mm,
of the green flags and some of the red flags, how to prevent that. So these are some of the things that they come away with, and they almost all say, wow, I didn't realize this. I didn't realize. And I'm so glad that we took this. And they say, I wish it was longer. They
mm,
say, I wish it was longer. So one of the things we do invite them to do, one is come back. You can come back as many times as you want, but also keep keep learning, keep growing yourself. Oh, that's the other thing is they many have said, I got to know myself better.
yeah.
How do we choose a prospective spouse when we don't know who we are?
Mm,
We don't know
mm,
most of us, and
you're
people are
right.
getting married, we don't know who we are, unless over years we've been through some things and we've taken
Yeah,
some real time to really ponder on who we are. Most
yeah.
of us don't. And then we marry somebody who doesn't know who they are.
Absolutely. So two people who don't know who they are coming together, like, you should know
Yeah.
me. And they're like, I don't think
Mhm.
you know yourself.
Yeah.
So
And
this
a lot of people are marrying
story.
strangers, and we're marrying strangers from different parts of the world and the cultures and all kinds of
Yes,
things. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. We talk so much about the educational system and curriculums that are
Mhm.
here in our society, and we talk about the fact that children should learn about taxes and how to get
Mhm.
a mortgage and all of these
Mhm.
real world things. And this right here definitely should be part of the curriculum for high schoolers because
Yes.
they're starting relationships, they're doing all these things. People get married in college and young. This, if not high school, at least freshman year, this
Yeah.
you we need to
I
license
believe
them.
in high school. I think by junior year of high school, I
Yeah.
think I look forward to actually working with some of the schools, the Islamic schools and charter schools to be able to implement this kind of at least pieces of it, you
Yes.
know, in the curriculum. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, no, this is huge. You've learned so much over the years, just from doing your own self reflections, doing your own introspective work, and then, of course, working with thousands of people from the premarital things to all of the other things that you do. And now you've put together your second book, right? Two Callings, which a memoir of an American Muslim social worker. I want to talk a little bit about like the writing of this particular book because you mentioned today, right? Some of the valleys that you have traversed in your life. And I remember in the program, a lot of times for many of the students, when we came to those valleys in their lives, it was difficult sometimes. But for you, what was the writing of this like for you?
So first of all, I'm glad you were there. I'm glad you and Sister Fatima were there. That was really important, and I'm glad that we were in a group, a support group of the cousins. We call the other writers cousins. So I'm glad we had each other. Um, and there were times when I was like, I can't write this. I'm not going to be able to, or even if I write it, I can't put this out there. Or, my God, what is my family going to think? Are they going to be okay with this? And not everybody has read it yet, and I
Okay.
do, and I don't know, but I feel better today um, about it. One, because I do have support. My daughter's Arena has been very supportive. My husband is very supportive. And I'm telling this story of how we had our challenges in there, and he's like, "That's okay, honey. You did it, and I'm proud of you." And so, but it was there were some days, and there was some you know, teary times, just, thinking about what my parents went through and what we, as my brothers and I, went through with my parents' troubles, reflecting on that, And the other part of it is my memory of some things was not there. I called on I called on some of my friends that friends had been friends for 50 years. They knew better what I went through than I even remembered some of it.
Mm.
Yeah,
That's
Yvonne
defense
Roberts.
mechanism? What is that? Like blocking it out just for
I think
healing?
maybe so. And also Yvonne, so Yvonne Roberts and Beretta Roberts, they were like two of my friends. And Yvonne said that as a kid, I was going through so much. I had so much on my plate that may be why I didn't remember certain things. I don't really know. And having to take care of my brothers or help my mom when she came back after she had some treatment. She was in a difficult place, and then over time she got better and better, and thank goodness. But as a teenager, I'm 16, 17, or 15, 16, 17 years old, and I had certain responsibilities, and I lived in an environment I didn't like. I did not like the neighborhood. We were in Brownsville in East New York, and the setting wasn't a good fit for me because I had grown up in St. Albans, Queens, in a different environment. I was like I grew up in an environment where you could go out and play and you knew the neighbors and things, and then we wound up in this environment that was not safe.
Mm,
There was gangs and drugs, and it wasn't safe. And so yeah, so it was difficult reflecting on that.
yeah,
But I'm glad the good things that I reflected on was having, um, I had good friends. High school was good for me. It was really good. I grew in high school. I had good support. Um, and it was a good place for me to be. I became a leader. I did a lot in high school. And even though my mom wasn't able to encourage me at that time in the way that she really wanted to, I had good friends and good teachers and stuff. So we need that. When you grow up with adverse childhood experiences, as I did, um, the resilience comes also with the support that you get from, and you're going to need that to be able to get through those adverse childhood experiences. Yeah.
yeah. So, do you feel that the book allowed you to say something out loud that maybe you had never said before? Like, is there something you've
Absolutely.
never said that the book allowed you to finally say?
Absolutely, it did. It did. It just what I just said. I've never said verbally and out loud. I mean, like kind of little on the side.
Mhm.
My mom suffered from mental illness. My dad had alcoholism. I experienced adverse childhood experiences. I didn't even know what I didn't know the name for it really until later. Even like in over the last few years, I got a name for it. I was able to say some things out loud that I wouldn't have been able. And even now, to say it, I have to thank you for this because I hope in my saying this that it's going to help other people because otherwise other people help my grandchildren, my children. That's my first level of care and concern. Um, but I do hope that other people who have had adverse childhood experiences, whose family had difficulties, whose parents maybe had behavioral health or mental health issues, or grew up in an environment where their sense of self and identity was challenged, that they will get something from this. Otherwise, yeah, yeah, I wouldn't say this out loud. And this is the first time I'm really saying this out loud, really saying this out loud through this book and through this opportunity to share this. Most people don't know what I'm telling you. The
Hmm.
people who Only the people who really, really, really know me, and even some of them didn't know all of this. Yeah.
So, how do you feel now having shared these intimate parts of you in this way? How do you feel?
Um, I feel vulnerable. I
Mm,
feel vulnerable. I feel, the stigma of our society is still it's still around me, but I'm hoping that I'm feeling stronger and braver because I'm thinking this is not just about me. You know, it's something that Allah has caused me to go through in the hopes that I can be of help and support for someone else and for some others, not just one else, but for our society and for our community. Something has to be done because a lot of individuals and families are suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for our community to be at a better place, something has to be done. We've got to do better.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of us who have had some experience, if we can do something, if we can share something that can help them and help others, then Allahu Alam. I just pray that God puts it on my scale of good deeds. I just
Yes. Well, you definitely turned pain into purpose and you have helped so many other people. So, last question for you, Dr. Aneesah, like what's next for you?
deep breath. So, a couple of things. One thing is I want to go to Barbados.
Mm,
That's where my dad's parents immigrated from, and all the family on my dad's side that I knew have all passed away. And
mm-hmm,
I've never been to Barbados. I don't know if we have family there. So I am actually connected now to the Barbados Museum, and I we were making plans to go this year, but it doesn't look like we'll be able to go this year.
mm-hmm,
Um, so I want to go there. That's one of the things I want to do. Another thing that I want to do is there's another book I want to write um, that I think may also be helpful. Another one or two books actually that I want to write. And then I want to continue to grow the Before the Cat Institute,
mm-hmm,
education and premarital coaching, so that um, it will be there I, for the next generations. You know, that people will actually who participate in the course will actually be able to have healthier marriages and families.
mm-hmm,
Um, and then there's I am also concerned about an issue of the families of people who have been incarcerated. So
mm-hmm.
that's another area that I'm really interested in. And I think they are connected because social justice at home and social justice in the community, they're interlinked. You can't get without them.
We
So
can't separate them at all. Well, Dr. Aneesah, you know, we salute you as a legacy story keeper. We thank you for sharing your story with us. I think that you really illustrate like the power that can come from doing the introspective work and turning that into your life's work, and then also sharing with others so that they can hopefully live their lives just a little bit easier. Your courage is inspiring to all of us. So we thank you. We thank you. We thank you. We thank you.
And
Um,
I thank you for having this program and for encouraging us and for having learned the things that you've learned to be able to help us tell our stories.
yeah. So basically, I need to come into the class. That's what you're saying. It's like,
That too. That too.
she sends me the registration, and every time it's something that's like going on or whatever. So I am definitely going to join one of the Before the Nikat classes so that I can get my mind right. And as you said, we don't know what we don't know, right? So this allows us to just explore ourselves, and you can only come out of it as a better person. So for those of you who are watching, I would highly suggest that you go to beforethenicat.com. Is it
No, it's draneesa.com. And then before the Nakat, when you click
in
on, you
there?
see before
Okay.
the Nakat from
So
there.
Dr. Aneesah, Dr. Aneesah, Aneesah, .com, draneesah.com, and then you can get all of the information on Before the Cat. You can grab her book, Before the Cat, on Amazon. You can also grab her new book, Two Callings, on Amazon as well. But this is definitely a story that was worth telling. So, Dr. Aneesah, we thank you. We pray that God puts blessing into all of your work. Continue from here forward, and we pray that your bloodline is enhanced by everything that you have done to make it a better situation. Love you. Thank you.
Thank you. Love you.